Episode 13 of The Bad Batch shows us the gritty underworld of Ord Mantell, and in this episode we get taken on a bit of a side story with the Bad Batch and their favorite boss, Sid. What other giant space reptile would they work for? Also, this week has moved away from focusing on the larger plot of what's at stake with the Empire and the clones and everything. We're back to just focusing on the Bad Batch. So here are 38 details, Easter eggs, and points of interest in episode 13, Infested. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. So this episode is titled Infested for a number of reasons. First, because the mines beneath Ord Mantell are filled with bat-like creatures. And because Sid's office and establishment has become infested with a gang of criminals who think they can just barge in anywhere and start running the show. We'll also get to that in a bit. So the Bad Batch are back on Ord Mantell, and it seems as though quite some time has passed between the last episode and now. The Bad Batch are returning from another mission, one we didn't actually get to see, so they're not just getting back from saving Hera and her family on Ryloth. We don't know how much time has passed. Could be a few weeks, a few months, who knows? Anyway, Echo is complaining about the mission they just went on, saying Sid should pay them extra for what they just went through, and that she failed to mention the drop zone would be swarming with Gundarks. You might remember seeing the Gundarks from season 1 of the Clone Wars, although they were first mentioned in The Empire Strikes Back.
He looks strong enough to pull ears off a Gundark.
And also in Attack of the Clones in the elevator.
I haven't felt you this tense since we fell into that nest of Gundarks.
Now, Gundarks are originally from the planet Vancor, seen in the Clone Wars Season 1, so I think it's likely this is where the Bad Batch were for their last mission, but we'll probably never actually get to see that. Also, at 102, we see a Rodian walk past the frame. This same guy appears later in the episode also, thought it was worth mentioning. He's just hanging out. There's a Rodian. Alright, so the Bad Batch walk into Sid's, and there's something a little different about the place. It's not the usual dingy, empty space we've come to know. It's bustling, but not in a good way. The place is filled with armored guards. Also, the Bad Batch walk past a couple of pikes, which is never a good thing. These guys are always up to something shady. Also, this guy on the right is playing a game of holochess by himself, it seems, because there's no one else sitting with him, or lonely guy. Unless he's practicing for the Holochess Galactic Championships or something like that. But dude, someone get this guy a drink. Alright, so the Bad Batch beat up an armored guard without any fuss and make their way into Sid's office, which is occupied. A couple of armed guards in here as well, but it's good to see they've left some of the things intact. The Bantha Tooth is still sitting on the desk, the white Mandalorian helmet is still on the wall, and as everyone raises their blasters, we can also see the Phase 2 clone helmet still on the wall. And then we meet this week's bad guy. This is Roland Durand, a new character. He's the son of crime boss Isa Durand, someone I'm assuming we'll end up meeting down the track. Not much is known about him, but we do know he is a Deveronian, a species we first saw in the Cantina in A New Hope, which are obviously supposed to look like the devil. Like this guy in A New Hope, they were probably just short on cash and production money, so they just took this from a Halloween costume and made some modifications to make it look more Star Warsy. Works great. Alright, so Roland is holding his pet Ruby, which the Bad Batch collected on another mission for Sid back in episode 7. They originally stole Ruby from the Rokai gang, who had stolen Ruby from someone else. It seems Ruby is pretty rare. But the Rokai gang are yet to make an actual appearance as well. We don't know what they look like. We've never seen them. And I'm pretty sure Omega is the one who named Ruby, because back in episode 7, Wrecker remarks,
I don't think Ruby likes this very much.
You name that thing!
So it seems as though Roland has kept the name Ruby for this space lizard, although not sure how he even knew it had been named Ruby. Perhaps Sid told him. So the story goes that he asked Sid to arrange for Ruby to be stolen. That's what the Bad Batch did, and now that he's got Ruby, he's also decided to take over Sid's parlor. Real gentleman, this guy. Now, Roland also has this symbol on his jacket, which I was wondering if we'd seen before, and as far as I know, we haven't seen it before. I'm assuming this is the Durand crime family logo. Imagine that, your family has their own logo. It also appears on the shoulders of all the armed guards. They're the family guards, it seems. Alright, so the Bad Batch have their little confrontation and then decide to leave. Hunter's all like, we're getting off Ord Mantell, prep the ship, forget about Sid, not our problem. But of course Omega has a heart. But of course Sid is fine as well. She's already aboard their ship, just expecting their help. Like they haven't helped her enough already. Think of the funds they've brought in for her. And as we transition to inside the ship, the Ithorian and Weequay, Sid's regular patrons, are playing what looks like a game of Sabacc on the Bad Batch's Gonk droid Gonky. Sabacc was the card game Lando loved to play. He lost the Millennium Falcon to Han Solo while playing it. Anyway, in this scene, Sid explains who Roland is. He's the son of a crime boss. He's trying to get in with the Pikes to get a name for himself, and so on. Now, the Pikes are an interesting species. They first appeared in the Clone Wars Season 5, and they were also in Season 7 when Rafa and Trace Martez took them their spice. These guys love spice, love their paprika, cumin, really into their flavors. Love cooking up a storm. So the Bad Batch asks Sid why Roland has taken over her parlor and why he's here on Ord Mantell. To which she replies that the port on Ord Mantell is open to multiple hyperspace routes and is ideal for smuggling, and her parlor is the perfect spot for exactly that, even though there's a giant city here and I'm sure there's a lot of other places, but he's chosen hers for plot reasons, of course. But Sid is being real sly here, basically threatening the Bad Batch to help her out, or else she'll rat them out to anyone interested in knowing their whereabouts. She's blackmailing them. I haven't made up my mind about Sid just yet. Now, a bit of a shady character, isn't she? Now, she wants them to steal the spice Roland has stolen from the Pikes, which is a bad idea, right? I mean, Sid says the Pikes aren't an enemy you want to make. I mean, look at them. Their faces don't even move when they speak.
You are of no further use to us.
Creepy. So the Bad Batch head into the city's abandoned underground mines, featuring a complex railroad system. Sid demands they don't use the railroad engines because they're noise, so instead, once again, Wrecker has to do all the heavy lifting and actually make these things move. Or make this one move anyway. I mean, come on. He was the only one carrying the boxes of weapons on Rylus Moon, and again, he's tasked with the manual labor. Give the guy a break. And then they order him to open the door. Dude's doing everything. So Sid mentions that the caverns have a bit of an infestation problem, and then, of course, poor Wrecker drops his flashlight. Of course he did. He's probably tired of all the manual labor. Look at him. He's exhausted. Alright, so this ladder leads up to Sid's office, but they have to make sure no one's inside. So she uses this communication device to signal the weak way. This is the same device we saw the Imperial using on Raxus as a distress beacon when they were holding the senator hostage in Wine Cellar, you remember that? And it also looks really similar to those used in A New Hope on the Death Star. So our weak way friend is eating some of Omega's favorite Mantell mix, and then he uses it as bait to lure Ruby the Lizard out of the establishment, away from Roland, and into this box, slammed down by the Ithorian. So with Roland and his thugs out searching for Ruby, the Bad Batch make their way into Sid's office to steal the spice. And inside we see a few scrap rats, the same as those on Braca, first seen in Jedi Fallen Order. I think they're the same anyway, they look pretty much the same. Look at how obsessed this guy is with warming his hands on the fire. Why are they the only ones who seem to be cold here? He's so into that fire, man. Look at him. Pyromaniac. He's like Yoda in The Last Jedi. Loves lighting things on fire. So while in Sid's office, we also get a glimpse of the clone pilot helmet, still sitting on the shelf. It's good to see all three helmets are still intact. And then above Sid's chair, these are two Weestar 34 blaster pistols, the same blasters used by Jango Fett. We first got a look at all the Easter eggs and details in Sid's office in episode 5, back when we were first introduced to her, and we could see the blasters then too, they were here, but it wasn't clear whether they were just on a poster or the actual live blasters. Well, now, to me, these look real. They're the real thing. So, are they Jango Fett's actual blasters? And if so, how did Sid get her hands on them? Is she friends with Mace Windu? Maybe Mace is still alive. Maybe she's the connection to Mace. Wouldn't that be a crazy, crazy reveal? So the Bad Batch steal the spice, ready to cook up their own feast. Once again, poor Wrecker's doing the heavy lifting. Man, between hitting his head 1,000 times by episode 8 and now the lifting, this guy needs a vacation. Anyway, they head back into the caves. Up on the surface, these two idiots lose Ruby, and oh my gosh, she's so cute. Snuggles up to Roland, and he rubs her tummy, so cute. Oh. Roland then gets back to his office and realizes the spice is gone. How will he cook his favorite turmeric-based recipe? But they also discover the secret underground entrance and therefore chase the Bad Batch down, and then Wrecker starts shooting. He's had enough! And this of course wakes up the bat-like creatures who come chasing after everyone. So what are these creatures? Well, according to tech, they're called Earlings and are giant nocturnal insects with visual sensitivity to thermal registers, whatever that means. I like how tech just expects everyone to understand him immediately. And then Wrecker has to close the door again. I mean, come on guys, stop bossing the poor guy around. Give him a break. And the Pikes come to collect their spice from Roland. They want to get cooking. They're hungry, but he doesn't have the spice. It's been stolen and he's in deep trouble. But he's kind of stupid. He waves his blaster in their face and suggests they they return to Obadiah, their homeworld, which we saw in the Clone Wars. So the Bad Batch head back to Sid's office, expecting Roland to have already been taken away by the Pikes, and we finally hear the names of the Ithorian and Weequay, Bolo and Ketch, although I think they'd been mentioned elsewhere previously, or they could have also been mentioned in this show previously and I missed it. But there you go, that's a missed detail for me. So the Bad Batch get back to Sid's and the Pikes have completely wrecked the place, destroyed it, having killed lots of the armed guards. Let me remind you that Omega is still just a kid and walks in a room full of corpses. You can see her reaction. Poor kid. But the Pikes are still escorting Roland out. They're still here and face off with the Bad Batch, requesting the return of their spice. Need to get that curry on. In the meantime, they want to keep Omega hostage. Cue Bad Batch drawing their blasters, but Sid convinces them it's a good idea to not mess with the creepy Pike people and they should just go and get the spice. And once again, the hard work falls on Wrecker.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
And he is tasked with going down and collecting the spice alongside Sid. But I swear this guy is the bravest clone you'll ever see. Meanwhile, up in Sid's, or rather Roland's, he's gonna redo all the signage out front, put up his own name up there. Roland's bar. Omega's doing some bonding with Roland, and he explains the Durand way, his family tradition or motto or beliefs of taking what you want. Not sure what type of twisted, messed up belief that is, but there you go. He's also ashamed if his mother saw him where he is now. I mean, if you're gonna live your life taking other people's stuff, someone's eventually gonna take something from you and you're gonna probably fall on your ass. Okay, so on her way back up from retrieving the spice, Sid knocks an old tram off the tracks with her fat ass, and the Yearlings are woken up, and poor Wrecker is frightened for his life. Listen to him scream, the poor guy. Get us out of here! And then Tech throws the biggest, most satisfying flashbang you've ever seen. Seriously though, this would completely blind everyone after this. Hey, I just had a thought. Do you think Sid sees color like that Bosk ability in Battlefront 2, the way he sees color? Everything's all saturated. She's a Trandoshan after all. And then poor Wrecker man, he gets up top. He survived.
I'm okay. Whew.
The poor guys had a long day. Long day. So the Bad Batch get back to their docking bay and are met by the Pikes, who are really excited to open up their paprika. Man, look at all that spice. And then they're all like, yeah, we all good. But Roland, you need to be punished for your insolence. So they're about to kill him, but Omega and Sid plead with him, saying you don't want to start a war with his mummy. But at least if he dies, Omega will get to keep Ruby, right? That'd be a great positive to come out of this. Ruby becomes the Bad Batch's resident pet. But then the Pikes are all like, we don't accept bad deals, and they cut off his horn. The poor guy, I mean, he kind of had it coming though. And he says,
it's a small price to pay.
And he takes Ruby and walks off. Feels like we'll be seeing him again soon though, and potentially get to meet his mummy soon. That'd be good. And then Sid says,
come on, boys. First round's on me.
And Wrecker, Echo, and Tech all run off to grab a drink. Now, Wrecker, I can understand. After the day he's had, he needs it. He's desperate. But why are Echo and Tech also running? Are they just trying to keep up with Wrecker, or are they actually all desperate alcoholics struggling to deal with their new lives as mercenaries? Seriously, why is Tech running to grab a drink? Doesn't make sense. So this episode didn't really progress the plot at all. Nothing on the Empire or Rex or Hauser or Crosshair or anything. So what did you think of it? And were there any details you noticed that I missed? Let me know in the comments. And for more on the Bad Batch and Star Wars, you can watch one of these videos here, and also come and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and join my Discord for lots more Star Wars gaming news, updates, and everything else you need. And thanks for watching this. I'm gonna get Wrecker to have a rest after this. My name's Andrew. I'll catch you soon.
Stay bombastic.